all right. Hey, welcome. Welcome to the Unleashing Your Stress-Free Superhuman training. And we're going to wait for a minute and let everybody come in. Just settling in here. Welcome to this training. And we're going to get started. All right, I see people coming. They're coming to learn how to be that stress-free superhuman that I believe is in everyone. But a lot of people don't understand. And so I'm doing this training. I do these webinars to help people, learn how to not just manage stress, but sort of change how you are viewing stress, how you're responding to stress. All right, I see we have a good group, and so with that, I'm gonna kick this thing off. So my name is Brian Forsyth. I'm the founder of Radically Unstuck Consulting. I also have Tuasi.org. It's a nonprofit that I run to help entrepreneurs miss out on some of the pain and agony that can happen when you're just starting out as a founder or a startup. Radically Unstuck is my podcast, and you can find that on any of your favorite iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. A little bit about me: I'm a family man. I'm a coach. In 2016, I suffered a suicidal breakdown that led me to figure out how to beat depression, anxiety, and panic attacks without mainstream drugs, without therapy. And sort of learned how to turn my mental state into a science experiment, and that led to getting trained in CBT from the Beck Institute, and then later at the Rainier Institute for Life Coaching. Now, when I made my mental state a science experiment, I studied a lot. Countless medical journals, hundreds of books, and then I would try it out, see what worked. And one of those many books was written by Michael Hyatt, fantastic thinking man's author. Anyway, he was the one who showed me this. Broken agreements are actually tracked by your brain until you either complete the agreement, make a plan to go. Oh, all right, so do me a favor. Any questions? Just go ahead and hold those. I see a lot of people asking questions, so just go ahead and hold those until the end. We'll have a question and answer. We'll go through the chat and we will sort of pick the top 6 or 7 and make sure to answer those. So back to this. So broken agreements are tracked by your brain until you either complete the agreement, make a plan to complete it, or close it. So your brain is a lot like your muscles. It actually just wants more energy. It's kind of an energy hog, kind of like Windows 98. But anyway, once it doesn't have enough energy, you're in a degraded state. Except instead of you dropping your groceries when you're thinking about like a tired muscle, you won't be able to concentrate. You won't have as much willpower to resist your temptations, and you'll be more likely to allow the stress cycle to mount, which makes everything worse. So I put this in there just because I want to remind you that you made an agreement to be here. I want you to fully invested in this webinar. I am beyond honored you joined me, and I will do everything to help you complete this commitment and to really learn how to sort of redefine how you're viewing stress. But just be prepared, because this might include techniques and concepts which are weird, might be unfamiliar, which brings us up to this. If you always do what you have always done, you will continue to get what you've always gotten. So think about that. Think about what that means to you as we dive into this. Because a lot of what we're going to talk about involves visualization and imagination. And for a lot of people, these are superpowers that we don't use too much. And if you don't think your mind is a superpower, then wait until you meet Mr. Alvarenga later in this presentation. So relax and just do it. Now, right now I want you to take a few deep breaths, nice and slow, and imagine being your favorite character in any Marvel movie. Go ahead and type your favorite in the chat. Oh, I see Iron Man. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Iron Man. Oh, Doctor Strange. Oh, yeah. Nothing like being able to magic your way out of situations. Oh, take a minute and close your eyes and imagine how it would feel. How would you walk? How would you talk? How would you breathe? How would you make decisions if you were that character? What kind of house would you live in? What do you do for fun? You lift elephants? Imagine walking to your bank. You're walking into your bank and you got your cape, feel that. So, congratulations for the rest of this webinar. That is who you are, which means, yep, I'm Captain Marvel. Look at my hair. Amazing. Now, before you go use those brand new muscles to demand Loki Season 2 start, I got a question. You are now your favorite comic book hero in your favorite Marvel movie. Able to face whatever it is that comes up. No matter how big the monster, or the size of the building that just fell on you, the moment never overwhelms you. How does that happen? Well, it starts with a great script and a fantastic director, right? Good. Because I'm about to share the exact script, which with practice, yes, I said practice, because obviously no matter how you spell it, reps are what enable many of today's real-life superheroes, right? So you too will want to spend time with these ideas till they become second nature. And if you aren't careful along the way, you may find out how to become your own best director of the life you truly want. Because as I said before, I want you living, not just existing. And this training will help not just with stress, but how you operate a normal life as well. Heck, one day it might be essential for you to survive, like what happened to our friend Salvador, who you will meet later. Now, right now, whether you are a good guy or a bad guy, I want you to remember a day before you became super. Back when you were just a puny, weak human who couldn't bend steel or fly to Mars on holiday. Let's talk about stress, and most importantly, what too much of it does to the non-superhuman body. Now think back to a day when you got so stressed out, your whole day was ruined. Now right now, close your eyes. Imagine the scene. You were really stressed. Your job, your wife, your boy. There was a fire, whatever it was. Really get into it. What did it smell like? What sounds did you hear? Who's there? What time of day was it? Make it as real as you can. Think about how you responded and what you would have liked to have done differently. Most importantly, pay attention to what your mind has to say about what happened. Is what it has to say kind or not? Now, remember how your body felt that day or even the next few days, achy, a little weak, sore, muscles and jaw tight. This is what unmanaged stress does to the body. What happens to the body during extreme stress? You probably have heard about how in emergency situations the body goes into fight or flight mode, enabling us to survive. Fight or fight mode really means a huge blast of adrenaline blasts into your bloodstream, which would literally kill you in any other instance. But the thing about our daily stress is that it's not a fight or flight situation. It's that guy cut me off. I got to work late. I'm worried whether I'll get home to watch my show. It's, am I going to have enough money to buy my new car? And really, it's our mind tearing us down, telling us we aren't good enough, we don't do it right, can't do it right. Why don't we just lay down and quit? When I think about the days leading up to my suicidal breakdown, all the stress I was putting on myself, I realized it was really a lie my mind was telling me. And I was simply allowing it to grow unchallenged. I mean, yeah, I was 6,000 miles from home on deployment in the Gulf. Been out at sea for 20 plus days. Food is near unedible, and my boss was wait. Have you ever seen Office Space? Because my boss at the time was CWO4 Taylor. It's a lot like that guy up there, except thinner, taller, and he was a high-ranking naval officer. For about 6 weeks before my near suicidal breakdown, he and I were at odds, and I wasn't prepared for it. See, back then I knew very little about stress management and let it all pile up. That's why I'm glad I can bring this training to you. Let's talk about consequences. Because too much of this adrenaline cycle can have emotional and behavioral symptoms such as aches, high blood pressure. Of course, before it causes any of these problems, the unbroken stress cycle just sucks, right? Take a minute and think about all the ways stress breaks your flow, kills your momentum, keeps you from doing the things you want to do like you want to do them. But what can we do? Let's talk about it. This is the REAL method. REAL stands for rational, enduring, affirming, and lawful. Rational, enduring, affirming, and lawful. And if you think about just that acronym, it's kind of like a lens. It's kind of like if you have a thought, if you have a feeling, if you're thinking about taking an action, ask yourself whether it fits, how it fits in the lens of rational, enduring, affirming, and lawful. Now, the REAL method is based on monitoring attention and attention level, defining and appropriately responding to only what is actually happening, responding at the specific level required, changing your stress threshold, and understanding and practice. So let's look at the method. For less tension, pay more attention. This is all about tuning into and maintaining and evaluating your awareness. And this reminds me of when I was young, because back then it seemed like there were only two superheroes, Superman and Spider-Man, and everyone else was all about Superman, but I gotta be honest, I was the weird Spider-Man kid in my neighborhood. Because yeah, Superman could bend steel and fly and stuff, but Spider-Man was really just a kid, and boom, he's a super. And he had to figure out how to be Spider-Man. He spent all this time bouncing against buildings and falling down, learning how to be super. But the thing that he started with was his spidey sense. He'd be sitting there on the couch or whatever, and suddenly his spidey sense would go off and tell him that Sandman is buying a ham and rye at the West Elm Cafe, and boom, off he goes. Well, believe it or not, you have a spidey sense too. You just got to start paying more attention to it. Because I guarantee you have felt it. Right now, remember when the hairs of your neck stood up, that dark alley on your right, that guy at the store. Sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes it's about 1,000,000 years of evolution trying to help you. That's your spidey sense. And if you start tuning in, paying more attention to the information around you and how your body is feeling, you'll feel more in control. You won't feel so blindsided, which will lead to less stress. Look for the flush. Look for the rush. Racing thoughts, sweaty palms, heart racing. Sometimes we're so consumed with what's going on, we miss the cues. So get in the habit of asking, checking in with your body. Is your jaw set or your fist clench? How's your breathing? Thoughts and heart are racing. Is your chest tight? Make a habit of checking in with your body and consciously take back control. And clench your fists. Stand or sit up straight. Remind yourself you are not anxious. You are excited. All this means you are still breathing, alive, and one step closer to winning the day. And if necessary, you can roll out the 4x4. Now, this is a neurologically based breathing practice. It's very simple. You're going to take a deep, comfortable breath in through your nose. You're going to hold it for a comfortable 2 seconds, and then you're going to blow out very slowly through your mouth like you're blowing through a straw. Now you can do this 4 times. And this will take a little bit of practice because it's kind of an unusual way to breathe, and most of us aren't really that used to doing breathing stuff. So the important thing is to remember to do this in comfort, so you're not like super holding your breath too long. You're not, just experiment with it. And if you think that there's not enough time in stressful situations to do this, I want to bring up a study. It was with like 4,000 airline pilots, and what they found was that if they looked at the first action that was performed in an emergent situation, many times it was the wrong one. That if they took the time to sit with it for just 10 seconds and figure out like what was really happening versus what their brain told them immediately, that more than likely that considered action, even though it was just a 10-second considered action or a 20-second considered action, was better and proved to be more effective than the emergent scared rabbit kind of response. So that's the first thing. When stress happens, when an emergency comes up, whatever it is, stop and remind yourself that this is the time for considered action. And next, let's talk about going to the movies. So let's talk about going to the movies and what that is like versus watching. So watching versus being. Now, watching is when you are evaluating and not invested. Like if you were watching a movie about, paint drying, you would be watching it. You would be evaluating like, oh my gosh, I'm sitting here, looking at this paint dry, versus if you are watching your favorite Spider-Man movie, you are being, right? You are like completely invested and you're sweating and your muscles are tight and you're, you were just like totally into it. Now, in movie speak, that's called the willful suspension of disbelief. And it's easy for us to fall into that. So think about practicing this before you need it. This idea of being a reporter versus, being invested in everything that happens. Because in stressful situations, and especially in emergent situations, you've got to be able to put mental distance between, what is real and all the mental chaos that is running around in your brain. And this ability is what enables men of action, those real heroes, to make the right decisions. Because the truth is, fear is going to turn you into an unproductive thinker. And so you've got to practice this idea of watching versus being. And next, let's talk about visualization and how to use visualization. Because, unprocessed stress events, those are the events that you've gone through in the past where you were went through something that was super stressful. It's fights, it's being accosted. These unprocessed stress events make you 10 times more easily triggered. And unless you've started working through processing them, then you're like a hair trigger, versus like the trigger on a shotgun made in the 1800s. Like, it doesn't take you much to go into the stress response and avoidance and all these different things. So if there's really things that are triggering for you, particular instances, then I encourage you to start working at reevaluating and really processing those events. And when you start working with this stuff, then your stress level and the likelihood of you falling into an emergent stress response is much less likely. The other thing is going through and running through successful scenarios to remind yourself that you have responded. These are your successful responses in scenarios, right? So work through the ones that are triggering, and then spend some time working with the ones where you were absolutely a rock star. And then, of course, if you're got a big thing tomorrow, you've got a big meeting, you're gonna go meet your ex-wife, sit for a minute and think about that scenario and you being the person that you want to be in that scenario. So pre-thinking, preparing for possible things that could be stressful. So those are the three ways that we're going to learn to use our visualization and imagination. Now, if you doubt the power of your brain, consider this. This is Jose Salvador Alvarenga, and he went fishing in a very small one-engine boat off the coast of Mexico. He and his friend Cordoba, storm hit. They made a desperate SOS. No one heard, and he was lost for 438 days. And his rescue was remarkable, but there are actually two stories here. One is what happened to his compatriot Cordoba, because food was scarce, and they had to eat anything, including at one point their own fingernails. 2 months in, Cordoba ate something that made him sick. He stopped eating. Depression set in and he died. In essence, his will to survive got beat by the strength of his inner voice. Navarenga was alone for the next year. What happened? How did Navarenga make it? He focused on doing everything it took to survive. Among other things, catching fish with his bare hands, luring small birds and turtles, and eating everything raw. And he says, I suffered everything, yet I didn't take my life. And what was his secret? Positive affirmations and extreme imagination to deal with constant loneliness and isolation. So what do we take from this? In all instances, we can be our own hero. In stressful situations, you gotta use positive words and thoughts to override the fear signal that originates in the brain. Guard against cynical and self-defeating thoughts and feelings like, I screwed up again, or just like I thought it would happen. Because the human brain documentary says we talk to ourselves between 300 and 1,000 words a minute. So you aren't sunk if you're still breathing. You're sunk if you let that negativity within you invade your mind and crowd out seeing the good, the possible. Because there's two ways to look at this world. Life is working for your good at all times, or it never is. So remember this, be your own hero in times of stress, at all times. So you can calmly answer the question, who's the villain now? Evaluate. Take that 10 seconds to evaluate what is actually happening. Is it a bonfire or a campfire? Respond appropriately. Focus on just the next step. What is the next step? Your brain will want to swamp you with all the different things. Stuff about next week. Oh my gosh, my wife is going to divorce me. Shoot, divorce takes about 2 months, 3 months. You're pretty far away from that right now. What is the next step? Evaluate that. Figure out that. Focus on one goal. If you're in a burning room, first goal is to get out. If the room is actually on fire, don't try to put the fire out. If it's a fire in a trash can, maybe put the fire out. Look for that one goal. What is the goal? If you're in a fight with your boss, what is the goal? The goal, maybe keep your job, maybe resist the urge to strangle him where he stands. But what is the goal? Remember, real, rational, enduring, affirming, lawful. What's the goal that fits that? What's the goal that fits who you truly want to be? And then act decisively. All right. So now we're going to go through some questions. I believe, yes, we have the list. Kind of gone through all the different questions. I appreciate you guys asking questions. Some of them repeat, obviously, so these are questions that, sort of seem like the ones that people really want to find out about. All right, um, so now I'm gonna answer some questions. I appreciate everybody submitting questions. Um, just kind of gonna take the ones that sort of bubbled to the top, the ones that a lot of people were wanting to have the answers to. Um, so this is like your top ones. So the first thing is, can managing stress reduce or prevent heart disease? And yes, um, managing or reducing stress can prevent, heart disease, ulcers, um, you know, many different things. Um, you know, it's just a reality, right? Like uncontrolled stress, as we talked about, that fight or flight that you keep going into, that blast of adrenaline, all that stuff, that is not good for your body. So definitely the answer to number one is yes. When should I talk to a doctor about my stress? Well, um, basically, if you think there's a problem, if it's impacting your life, if it's impacting, the life that you really want to have, your quality of life, then you should, talk to your doctor. You should, uh, you know, figure out what you want to do about it. That's what I would say. Um, Number three, how much stress is too much? Uh, Again, I would say that if it's impacting your life, if it's causing you to drink or do drugs in order that you can manage your stress, if you're worried about different situations to the point where you are no longer enjoying your the life that you really want, then that's probably too much stress. Number four, can stress be good for you? That is a nuanced question. Um, Stress is an indicator, uh, and some people use stress to get going. Like they can't even get going if if there's not a little bit of stress involved. Um, but the problem is that you kind of become like almost addicted to the stress, and then you may not even take action until you feel stressed. So um, stress can be like a motivator, um, but I feel like you can motivate yourself differently than waiting until you're like super stressed out before you take action. Um, can stress be good for you? Um, Stress is an indicator. Uh, you know, I mean, technically, you could say that it could be good for you to some extent. It might show you where you uh, need to um, release or change the way that you're viewing situations. Um, it certainly shows, extreme stress in certain situations, like, um, you know, not being able to drive, or, extreme situations of fear and stress. Um, that might show you that you need to talk with someone and start working through these feelings and emotions that you have around certain things. This is kind of an interesting question. is thinking stress, or can it cause stress? Well, I would say that uh, without a doubt, thinking can be stressful. But thinking by itself isn't stress. I mean, the truth is, really, too much of anything, stress or even chocolate, is putting you into an unbalanced situation. Uh, One thing I would say though is just be careful of rumination, of descending or falling into rumination, and that's this circular, unproductive kind of thinking. You see that a lot in people that are dealing with depression. It's this, thinking that feels like thinking, and it just goes around and around and around and around, and it's just sort of this downward spiral. So definitely guard against that. Um, does stress make you age quicker? The short answer is yes. Too much unregulated stress can without a doubt make you age quicker, as it breaks the body down. All those times you're going into that fight or flight mode, uh, and it's usually some non-life-threatening situation, but it's still blasting those adrenaline, that adrenaline into your body, and it does have an effect. And the last one, how can you help someone who is stressed, too stressed? Share this webinar with them. Get them into some meditation, some deep breathing exercises, different types of meditation. Get them interested in the 4x4 technique. It's simple, it's fast, it works. But the truth is that it is pretty difficult to get people to change until they want to change. So the first thing is you have to let them change, whether it's from you talking to them about it, or just them realizing that there's a better way. Show them a better way, and then hopefully they will take the steps necessary to start sort of regulating how much stress they put themselves under. I'm using some of these techniques, or whatever it is. Hopefully they do what it takes, because that's really what it's all about. People ask me, how I beat depression, anxiety, and all this stuff, and I said, well, it starts out with I made the decision, and then I kept making the decision, and I make the decision still. So, helping somebody really is about helping them make their own decision. And with that, I want to thank everybody for being on this webinar. I don't know, there's probably about 300 of you guys out there, and I appreciate it. If like I said, you can definitely share this, wherever you like, to as many people as you can. That's what it's all about, is helping people. You can reach out to me at brian@radicallyunstuck.com. You can find me at radicallyunstuck.com. Find the podcast, and of course you can find me on Facebook at Radically Unstuck, or Brian Forsyth. With that, namaste, everybody.